Will you be queuing us, Alex, or diretso na? Okay, a pleasant afternoon to all and to our colleagues in the legal profession, and of course, as well as those who are in the field of education. Uh, we have a very limited time today, so we'll be engaging in a conversation with my co-presenter, Dr. Anne-Marie Ramos, or as we fondly refer to her as Dr. Pinky. And she is a full-time professor and chairperson of the Educational Leadership and Management Department of the De La Salle University of Manila. And her areas of specialization include curriculum development and design, educational leadership and management, and cyber ethics. Now, we will be doing a very broad overview of what curriculum engineering is and how it may help, more particularly as our colleagues may have observed that the law clinics are given great leeway in tweaking the 2-unit course of CLE. It could go beyond 2 units, it could go beyond the first term of the sophomore year. So how could we decide what to do? And part of the answers would be curriculum design, which Dr. Pinky, Dr. Ramos will share with us. And hopefully, you will note, excuse me, at earlier, I was looking at a brochure, which is part of our conference kit, and it included the strategic plan for judicial innovation, and part of it is judicial education, and particularly mentioning outcomes-based education. And this will also be part of what Dr. Pinky will discuss. And later on, if we have time, I will also share some of our experiences in our legal aid clinic using the design thinking. So without further ado, let's ask Dr. Pinky to provide us a brief overview of what curriculum engineering is all about.
Good afternoon, Attorney Chali, and good afternoon to all participants. It is a privilege to be here today to share my knowledge, and experience on curriculum development and its implications to uh, perhaps improving, the curriculum for the College of Law, specifically for that course that you mentioned, Attorney Chali, CLE, no? The
Yes.
clinical legal education. So first of all, kindly show the first slide. No, so
Okay.
as Attorney Charlie mentioned about what is exactly curriculum engineering, and we can view it in the perspective of a system model. When we say a system model, it consists of the process of input, no input or these concepts. No, in a system model, input, process, output. And as you look into the diagram, uh, these three basic processes, no, in relation to the input process output, these important basic processes have to be um, synergically uh, in terms of how, no, we proceed with curriculum in synergy, no, and in the coherence in the implementation. And so as you look at this slide, no, the three basic processes are curriculum development, implementation, and then evaluation. And it's actually cyclical, no, in
Mhm.
nature. So with regard to input, let we can relate that to curriculum development, no, attorney.
Okay.
So when we say curriculum development, how the curriculum for a particular program or subsumed to that program is the course, how curriculum is constructed, or how or an existing curriculum need to be revised, no, in terms of of the nature, no, of curriculum development. And with regard to input, when we say input, what needs to be included in the curriculum? Okay.
Okay. So,
Um,
Dr. Pinky, if we talk about the program, then we are referring to the revised model law curriculum issued by the LEB, correct?
Yes, you're
Okay.
correct, attorney.
Yeah.
So the program refers to the law, no? What we call the revised, no? The
Yes.
revised program for the College of Law using the new model. No, so we say program, and when we say course, in layman's term, it's a subject, no,
Yes.
subject that is included in the program, no.
Yes. So we
But
could
in
refer to
higher
the
education, it
CLE.
refers to a course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with respect to the CLE, it is the subject is the course, and under the model curriculum, it has at least a minimum of 2 units. Is that correct?
Based on the document you shared,
Yes.
no, it's a 2 units. But to continue, no, first,
Okay, please.
no, to continue with what we mean by curriculum engineering, these three basic processes are important in the revision. No, whether if there's really a need for revision, um, first is we have to consider what is exactly curriculum development and the inputs in the curriculum. Let's say in terms of instruction, in terms of the content, the resources, no, the teaching methodologies, and even the people, no. So when we say resources, it refers to the financial and also to the human, no, human resources. So input in curriculum development. And part of it, so once the curriculum has been constructed by a curriculum team, of course I will show you later diagram of what are these factors that influence curriculum, no, what are these factors that influence in the curriculum development and design. But let's say once the curriculum has been implemented, so that's what we mean by the process, no, putting the formal curriculum into practice. So once you have your planned curriculum or curriculum as prescribed, no, by certain um, professional organization or like certain government agencies or like the LEB, then you put into practice, you put into actual, no, actual practice the planned curriculum. And to find out the effectiveness and efficiency of the curriculum being implemented, as well as the entire curriculum system, that needs to be the evaluation needs to be conducted, no. And so it's cyclical in terms of after evaluation, what then we need to do, what are the actions to be taken based on the results, no, of the evaluation. So there is a dynamic, no, dynamic interrelationship. These three basic processes. So when we say that's why input, process, and the output is the outcome. No, the curriculum is actually the product, no, an outcome. But at the same time, outcome means did how the learners or the students, no, the recipients of that curriculum, how are they doing? No, have they achieved the the outcomes, no, that have been established in the program.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on, is there like a question before I move on, attorney?
Please go ahead,
Okay.
Dr. Pinky.
Now, so now you have a basic understanding of what is curriculum engineering and the relationships of these three processes, no, and their functions. We also, it's very important also that an institution, we need to have a unifying understanding of what is exactly curriculum in terms of its concept, because there are many definitions of curriculum based on certain perspectives, certain philosophical orientations. But to simplify it, we can adopt from Latuca and Stark on defining curriculum or viewing curriculum as an academic plan.
Okay.
Now, looking at the diagram, so you notice here that what all of that, no, the content are very essential, no, in designing or in developing a curriculum, no. So there, at the center of the diagram, no, inside the circle is the academic plan. So that's how we that's our unifying understanding of what is exactly curriculum. It contains the following components of they're very essential in developing this or designing and planning curriculum. So purpose or outcomes, no, purposes, what do you intend, or if we embrace the OBE or outcomes based education, when we say outcomes, no, these are the um, ultimate outcomes that we would like our students to know and be able to demonstrate after having experienced these significant learning experiences in their course or in the entire program, no. So, like in your curriculum for the College of Law, what are those program outcomes that have been established is very important, because from that outcomes, that's where you're going to um, construct, no, construct your plan,
Yeah.
no, construct your curriculum in the plan for that particular course, no. So here in the diagram, there's purpose, there's content, okay, purpose and outcomes, and content, and other essential components like the instructional resources, no, instructional processes, instructional resources, that would be the facilities, no, that would be the also budget, no, with instructional resources to obtain those materials and facilities, and instructional processes would be the also the tools and techniques on how you're going to run the curriculum, the strategies, no, the teaching techniques, teaching methods, and of course, is very essential is the assessment and evaluation of learning, no, of the students. And in
Mhm.
that diagram, it also considers the learners, which means the context, no, the kind of learners you have in your classroom, and also the demographic profile, no, of the learners, their learning style. And also in the content, you see there the broken bi-directional um, arrow, no, sequence. It's that's I think that answers, no, partially answers your question. Do we have to add the credit units, or where do we place this CLE in
Mhm.
the entire program? So sequence, no, and there are also principles in considering what would be the sequence. Where do we place these courses across the program, in a particular academic term, no, or semester.
Yeah.
Now, to the left most of the screen, you see there are some boxes. These are the factors that are very important to consider when one, no, the curriculum team or educators, or like all of you in the academy as well, you're considered educators because you deliver instruction, no, and assessment. These are the factors that you have to consider also in crafting your curriculum. So external influences, like there, for example, market forces, no, or the economic landscape, industry demands, no, and then the government, if there are policies, no, or a government agency that you need to also comply with in crafting your curriculum, accrediting agencies if it is applicable to your program, and disciplinary associations. These are the professional organizations that you might also consider through your benchmarking or through your affiliation of these associations. And institutional influences is inside the institution, like the institution's vision,
Mhm.
mission. When we say vision, what's the direction of your institution? Like it's a foresight of the future, and where do you want to go with regard to, guided by the core values, by the mission, no, which is the purposes and core values, no, and priorities of an institution. And when we say mission, what is the essence of existing of your institution? what is its purpose or is existing this institution in the community, in the society at large, and then also resources inside the institution, and then governance like policies that has implications in running the curriculum. And internal, these are the internal influences, no, the institutional, and then the unit level influences within a college, no, like for example the faculty, like in a course, the faculty who members who will handle the course or the courses, it's discipline like law, and it can be also interdisciplinary, like now the trend is we go interdisciplinary in running a program. And student characteristics, so that's the profile of the students. So we could also say this is a scanning the environment, no, as a strategy, scanning the external and the internal environment that influence in the development of the curriculum. And therefore, with through the evaluation, as you can see, if there's a need to adjust, no, if there's a need to adjust, then that it should be data driven. In fact, when you develop a curriculum, design a curriculum, it's based on data. It begins with needs assessment. What do these types? What do these learners need? No, needs assessment, or this institution existing in a community, because we are schools agent of change. What are these needs that we need to cater or to address? Okay, and so there's adjustment, modification, and going back to the outcomes, no.
Okay.
And so therefore then revision, it has to be justified through the data that was gathered, that we need to revise the curriculum if it's really necessary.
Yes. Now, Dr. Pinky, the battle cry is outcomes-based
Mhm.
education, and we appreciate what you just mentioned as describing the outcomes-based education. But so that we could appreciate this shift, can you recall for us what was the education before this outcomes-based education came into play?
Well, before outcomes based education is really more focused on content.
I
No,
see.
the
Okay.
traditional way um, of of planning, no, or designing curriculum, more of focus on content. Um,
So maybe for the law students, memorization, planning for the bar exams.
Perhaps,
Okay.
but it calls for balance. No, we're not disregarding content. No,
Yes.
so it actually, like based on content or standards, but the traditional, no, traditional way also planning the curriculum. But now the trend is OBE, meaning to say it's really designed down, no. Although in the past when we plan also curriculum, we think about goals, objectives, but we're now shifting paradigm to OBE in terms of we in crafting a curriculum, we start with the desirable results, no, OBE, the outcomes.
Okay.
What do we want what do we want to develop in our students after a series of learning experiences in the program? No, when we say outcomes, no, so that would be reflected on the graduate attributes. No,
Mhm.
please show the next slide. See there on the right, no, so graduate attributes. So like in your program, what are those graduate attributes that should be established clearly? Like for example, what is it like? Resilient leaders, when we say, so from the before you design, in part of designing curriculum, think of the graduates, no,
Okay.
the graduates. And then from that would be, that's what a first page is called exit outcomes of significance. These are ultimate outcomes, no, and should be reflected in the program, no, program outcomes. Let's say at the end of this program, the students will be able to manifest, no, or demonstrate these following attributes. Let's say critical and creative thinker, or resilient leaders, or ethical leaders. So it depends, no, on
Yes.
what was the priorities, no, of your discipline. No?
Okay.
So that's where the paradigm shift
Okay.
comes
Thank you.
in.
We can move to the next slide.
Mhm. Yeah. So, in relation, no, to continue, what is outcomes-based education? It says it moves away from traditional content-driven, but I'm not saying we disregard content, because it's
Mhm.
very important. There should be a balance between process, product, no, and content and process, no. And the intention is to produce job-ready graduates and meet the demand of economic changes. Meaning to say that you don't only look at, you don't just craft the curriculum for outcomes that demonstrate only in school, inside the institution, but also when they step out of the institution. But to be able to acquire the knowledge, the skills, and even the habits of mind and disposition necessary for them in their participation in the world of work, like in your particular discipline. So, what is it exactly for them to be successful? Um, say lawyers or practitioners. How do we prepare them in our institution? And when we say outcomes, is very important in the program to establish those indicators, no. Let's say when we say resilient leaders, what do you mean? How do we measure that? How evident it is in the curriculum,
Mhm.
no. How evident it is in the curriculum when we say um, have our students develop this, let's say in the first year, second year, or third year, or even when they already in the final stage of their program. That's why job ready graduates, that they will continuously demonstrate that. It's very essential in their participation in the society. There. So, just briefly, no, the OBE, because in the developing curriculum, we need to have, again, we have to have a unifying understanding of what is curriculum. We need to embrace a certain model. Because if there's no model, it's very difficult for the learning community to how to proceed with the curriculum design, no. So, um, with that model, which is like embracing the OBE, or you can have mixed model there, no, but OBE, and but other learner centered principles, maybe models, like the learner centered principles, no, applying the learner centered principles, that can also be part in the as a guide, no, it's a guide in developing and designing curriculum. So for OBE principles, there are, sorry for the numbering, so one, two, three, four. One is the clarity of focus. That's what I mentioned a while ago, on the outcomes, no, of significance. This refer to the graduate attributes, no, or the outcomes of the program that reflect the graduate attributes, no. So, clarity of focus mean to say, what are you have to establish first your outcomes, no? The program outcomes, and then design down from your ultimate culminating outcomes. So as you can see on the diagram on the right side, no, of my screen, although in OBE it just mentioned about the outcomes, it also very important that it should anchor to the school's vision, school's mission, core values, the educational philosophy, and other factors that you considered, no, in your curriculum, and down to the program outcomes, and more specific to the course learning outcomes. Let's say the
Mhm.
LCE, the LCE. What are the outcomes for LCE? That students will be able to what? And so the guide there is knowledge, skills, no, and attitude. high expectations, no, for all to succeed. So um, we can consider that, our students may be learning on different pace, not learning all at the same time. We can tune in to what their capabilities, and perhaps uh, plan certain plan or establish outcome for that particular student, that would, or let's say, plan some task, no, or projects, no, or something performance based that would challenge them, no, challenge them in in uh in performing such task, no, or project, no. So raising certain performance standard depending on the current, no, ability of the students, no. So high expectations also for all to succeed. Another would be viewing them that all learners can experience success, that all learners are capable, are competent, and they're able to succeed, meaning to say we're able to achieve those outcomes established in the program with the teachers, no, as the enablers, no, supporting them, providing them with varied learning opportunities, and that's why it's called expanded opportunity, that will support them for learning success. So this just to illustrate, no, when we mean by outcomes-based education, intended learning outcomes, what is essential for students to know, to be able to do and be like in order to be successful after they graduated, and
Mhm.
then followed by the instructional strategies, learning experiences, activities have the students had the opportunity to participate in meaningful learning experiences. What do we mean by meaningful? Meaningful means something that is relevant to them, something that they're able to acquire understanding, that this is they're able to make connections, no, of such learning experience that will equip them later on, no, in after they graduate, no. So meaningful, they'll be able to make connections, something that is relevant, that will help them demonstrate the desired knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values needed for success after they graduated or leave school. And then assessment, no, authentic assessment, how do we know that these students are learning or have learned? And when we say authentic, it means it's not only you don't only rely on quizzes, no, quizzes or written. Of course, we can't do away with quizzes and examinations. Very important, because like they will have to go through the bar, no, the bar examinations. But also, when we say authentic, it's something that they be able to demonstrate what they're able, the knowledge that they're able to acquire, they're able to demonstrate through the application, no, so the application of knowledge and skills. And authentic means you are mirroring or you're simulating what is exactly that these practitioners do in the real world of work. That's what we mean by authentic. Yeah. So just to show you again, no, like in the Commission on Higher Education. So I got this from the 2014 Handbook on Typology Outcomes Based Education, like applying the framework. So CHED is applying the framework of OBE. So actually, it was already explained, no. But as you notice here in the program, just below the box, the program outcomes is the curriculum map. That's another important principle in curriculum design that we have to look into, is the alignment, the program alignment, or for in terms of the Biggs, no, scholar mentioned it like constructive alignment, that there should be coherence and alignment from the program outcomes, course outcomes, the content, the teaching strategies, methods, and then the assessment, no, used in the curriculum, and as well as the learning environment. psychosocial, and physical. No, so the curriculum map, it's a tool, it's a technique that's being used in education to see to it that all of those essential elements or components of curriculum are well connected, there, aligned. Let's say these are your outcomes. What, let's say, resilient leaders, and then you have learning indicators for resilient leaders. Are this addressed in the course, and which courses? Across all courses or specific courses? So they're going to map it out. No, there's a template of that. You map out. Okay, so for this outcome on resilient leaders, it is addressed in this certain course of the program. No, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Pinky. Let's pause there a bit, and so that our participants might benefit. They might have some questions, or some might wish to pitch in. Let's pause a bit. Any questions or comments from our participants before we move on? Okay, so we'll tackle all the other questions after my presentation on design thinking. Let me continue, and let me share how design thinking had helped us in the Tanglao Legal Aid Clinic in addressing our pain points, so to speak. So, what is design thinking? Well, it is a process by which originally designers approach problem solving, but later on it became a management tool for problem solving, especially those so called wicked problems. For example, climate change. But of course, in my example later on in our legal aid clinic, it was a simple pain point. But nonetheless, our participants will hopefully find use in the design thinking process. So this is in contrast to the scientific method of problem solving, which requires a highly defined problem which focuses on delivering a single solution. While design thinking is a method where it is possible that the designers or the team will work on many possible solutions at once. So, as we see, design thinking is described as a five-stage process, but these stages are not always sequential. And the teams usually often run in parallel, out of order, and repeat them in an iterative fashion. So we have to understand that these stages are different modes which contribute to the entire design project rather than sequential steps. So, for example, what was the pain point of our legal aid clinic? Pre-pandemic, we already had the budget, we had already the area where we would construct the legal aid clinic. But when the pandemic struck, our administration had to repurpose the funds. So we were left with nothing. And we substituted the former courses into an externship course over this last summer. And we noticed that some students went to the arbitration branch and they never had the opportunity to engage in clients, provide a legal opinion. So we tried this design thinking process. So the first mode would be to empathize, research, see your users' needs, or who are our users, the students, of course, the indigent clients. So we have to, empathy is important to allow us to set aside our own assumptions about the world and gain insight into the users and their needs. So the students' needs, our clients, potential clients' needs, and then we define the user's needs and problems. So we synthesize what we have gathered from the step one, and maybe uh, these definitions can zero in on the core problems. Ideate is the more beautiful part of design thinking for me personally, because this is the brainstorming part based on what we gathered in empathizing, defining. This is thinking out of the box. So we were figuring out how can we provide, although our students had complied with the hours required for their CLE, but they never were able to interview a client or do a legal opinion. So eventually, we did a prototype and testing, and we looked at what we had. And what we had was a partnership with law students in the Ateneo, a course in environmental law, and both LaSalle and Ateneo law students were invited by Attorney Antonio Oposa, our environmental lawyer, Ramon Magsaysay Awardee, and well known for his intergenerational responsibility case. And we find Tony Oposa on the right-hand side, graciously providing our students with that experiential learning, even doing a cleanup, coastal cleanup in Anilao. Later on, we had a memorandum of understanding signing with the IBP Batangas chapter. And that was just initially to prepare the IBP lawyers to become supervising lawyers. But later on, we were able to connect with the City Hall, the legal officer there, and they said, we will provide you a space. In fact, it was the cultural center of Lipa. And do your outreach there. We have a lot of indigent constituents. We will send them there. Just be ready. So the lawyers of IBP were there. Our LSPs were there. The intention was that the lawyers will provide the initial intake of clients, while the RS LSPs will be beside them, observing the best practices on how to conduct an interview, maybe off the cuff opinion and guidance to our indigent clients. So we see here that occasion, and in fact, this is just a prototype. During this day, we were hit with typhoon, but nonetheless, we proceeded. And then in doing a legal opinion, we didn't have clients. So we asked our students, sige, just do a TikTok. Try to find the popular part of our popularizing the law program. Look for the popular questions in Lipa City. We're not talking about mergers and acquisitions or whatever. So I'll show you excerpts of these videos, which the students posted on their respective social media. Okay, so we emphasized that the students can provide their own opinion, but it is not binding. Uh, and oh, I'm sorry, they didn't hear the audio. Let me just go back. My apologies. Wala? Wait.
So attorney Chali, no, you're um
Okay.
you're promoting like the pedagogy of how to
Okay.
one of the ways, attorney Chali, one of the ways to if we say pedagogy, one of the ways on how to teach how to in terms of providing learning experiences for your course, the CLE.
Yes.
Mm.
So, in this case, my apologies. There is some technical glitch, but the students provided in this case, they chose popular questions in Lipa City. So, will I get imprisoned if I don't pay my debt? And then on the right hand side, and they provided an English and also a vernacular version, so that it becomes very popular for the locals there, and that is also part of marketing the law school. But and it also prepares the community for the launch of our legal aid clinic once we have it up and running. But in the meantime, we have the proof of concept, that tripartite partnership with the City Hall, providing the venue, cultural center of Lipa, and they were the ones handling, disseminating notices to the barangay. You send your constituents who have legal problems on this date, and we had a lot in the picture that you saw. We had a lot of volunteers coming from the IBP Batangas chapter, and we had several of our graduates who are now lawyers also volunteering, and of course our students acting as paralegals and observing the best practices. But before that, we had already oriented the lawyers, we had already oriented the students, and post activity, we also evaluated what could be improved. So we're almost time. Maybe we can open up the discussion. We encourage the participants to also share their pain points, because I am sure we have common concerns. Earlier yesterday, the common concern is how to gather our supervising lawyers. Where do we find them? No? And of course, budget is always there. But okay, please join us, or you may have some questions.
Attorney Chali,
Yes,
no, we talked
Dr.
about
PJ.
faculty. That's where we related to the input, yeah,
Okay,
and their
yeah,
competencies. Yeah, yeah.
okay. Ayan. So our host, Alex, no, has mentioned that our participants may post questions. Is it through the chat box, Alex?
Attorney, I would just like to add, when we refer to outcomes, what is essential, no?
Yes,
What is
please.
essential for the students to be able to know and do, no, and demonstrate. Yeah.
Yes. In fact, I recall about 8 years ago, the first time I heard a lawyer talking about outcomes based, I said, wow, this is unique and unusual. And it was Dean Largo of the University of San Carlos. And most of you are aware of the outcomes of that path taken by Dean Joan Largo. And a lot of their graduates successfully passed the bar, and in fact, topped the bar. So there you have it, the proof of concept. Okay, do we have questions or sharing from our participants? Feel free to unmute and join the discussion. Or maybe if we have uh, some of our law student practitioners, maybe from their point of view, they could also mention their pain points, problems encountered. Sometimes we are blindsided with our own curriculum development that we fail again to address the ultimate beneficiaries, our law student practitioners, and of course, the clients involved. Okay. Uh, so we have a question here. Uh, how would you encourage schools to shift to outcomes based education, especially since many professors and schools are focused on the traditional way of teaching? Maybe I'll take this question. And
Yes.
yes, we have a lot of, I'm sorry if I describe my colleagues, some of my colleagues as dinosaurs. But if we're talking about being competitive, regionally competitive, and relevant to the global arena, we will we will have to embrace this kind of way of teaching. At least at this time, if outcomes based, we need practice ready lawyers, not merely topping the bar. No, practice ready lawyers. How could we, no, encourage the schools to be able to have these students manifest that trait of being practice ready? Is it just simply being able to prepare a complaint, draft a last will and testament? I guess it goes beyond that. So by default, these schools, these professors, I think will fall by the wayside while we because law students are a different kind of breed now. No, they also know what they want. Wala nang terror ngayon, wala nang hindi na pwedeng mag-itcha ng eraser sa law student. No, they are well aware what they need to become successful lawyers. So maybe for the young professors here, you know what I mean. There is the some law students know how to push back and demand what they need to learn, and I have experienced that. So by default, they might fall by the wayside, Anne. No? So ayan the writing is on the wall. Even the Supreme Court, again, referring to the strategic plan of the Supreme Court, no, it's there. I think in the handout, page 14, nakalagay dyan. Judicial education, moving towards outcomes-based education. Supreme Court na yon. Do we stick to the traditional? Wala. Matatalo lang yung mga estudyante mo sa korte kung ganon. No? On the practical side of that, ayun, if you still stick to the traditional way of teaching and learning. Thank you, Anne, for that question. On assessment, how do you assess your students during moot court presentations in practice court subjects? Okay. Do you have a rubric on this? Okay, maybe Dr. Pinky might want to discuss rubrics.
Well, first of all, it going back to the outcomes. When we say clarity of focus, is very important that we be able to establish the outcomes clearly using the principles. No, principles on writing learning outcomes, and when we say learning outcomes, also that following a principle of SMART. Is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it attainable, realistic, and time bound? No, in writing outcomes. Why am I saying this? Because this is in relation to assessment. And actually, no, in this trend of OBE, which is like different from the traditional, is that uh, after establishing the outcomes, you establish the assessment tools, no assessment evidences to show how these outcomes have been demonstrated or demonstrated successfully by these learners. So when we say rubrics, it's a way of it's a tool used, no, to in creating a tool for assessment. First of all, when we say assessment, we need to say we need to determine what the students will be able to do, no, at a certain level. So in a rubric, there is like criteria, because when we talk about outcomes, it's also based on criteria because it's based on performance. What they demonstrate, what they need to demonstrate as as prescribed in the outcome, no, as outlining or as established through the outcomes. And so there, that's when you're going to create your assessment tool using a rubric. It is a tool that shows the criteria for assessing whether the students will be able to perform such task or such skill, no, kasi skill, no, when you demonstrate the skill, knowledge as well, no, knowledge kasi hindi lang skill, knowledge in terms of accuracy of content, depende kung ano the nature, no, the nature of the task or project that you need to assess. So assessment means gathering information of what the students will be able to do certain project or certain task or certain period of time. And rubric is a tool having that criteria. Let's say, kung court presentations yon, anong criteria? Criteria could be content or skill that needs to be demonstrated by the students, and at what level in terms of quality of performance. Is it like um, needs improvement, no, as the lowest, no, in terms of the rubric,
Yes.
and then developing pa lang, or emerging, and then another level would be proficient, no, and then like mastery, or mastery ba, or excellent, no,
Yes.
as the highest, no, or that shows the quality of performance. So that would be determined on the course that the faculty is teaching, no, is facilitating.
In
No?
this case, Dean De La Cruz asked specifically about the moot court presentations. Of
O
course,
yun, moot court
pag sa
pala, o moot court.
moot court, ano eh, of course, we've done away with the winning or losing cases, and that is beyond the student. But of course, usually, the clarity of presentation, if the precision in grammar, logic,
Mm-mm.
etc. So, yung mga ganun. And uh,
And
sometimes,
then there are descriptors in each quality.
yes,
Let's say when you say this improvement, bakit? Ano yung ano yung maybe it's in the performance, or it could also be written kasi pwedeng performance, pwedeng process kasi yung process, yung focus mo ng assessment mo, or product, no, ano yung output, no, or the process in terms of how they do it, depende, it's the faculty, it can be a collaborative, no, pero may descriptors yon per
yes.
level of quality.
Something tangible, no? Yeah.
That's why when you say outcome, it's a tangible, it's evident, it's
Tangible,
measurable.
measurable, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Kasi in our profession, unlike kung mathematics, 1 plus 1 ang sagot 2, mahirap
Mm,
talaga ang i-measure. And Dean De La Cruz is correct. No,
yeah.
we should have a
Quantitative yun.
good
Oo.
rubric for that.
Or exams yun, written. Pero what if it's performance, no? They have to perform. Ano
Yes.
ngayon yung basis mo for, let's say, the highest score, or like perfect? There should be a criteria, no? So it's called criterion based. And criterion based can be anchored to certain standards. No? O standards, let's say, in your discipline.
In fact, in a practice court, I don't know if it's included, yung decision making with regards to the ethical norms of the student. Sometimes things are not black and white. Sometimes it's gray. So maganda din i-challenge ang students doon so that they are well aware when they are faced with those gray area decisions relating to ethics. It is important.
Yeah. So what is essential? Now, what is essential for the student to be able to demonstrate it? No, and that's reflected in the outcomes, and use assessment, no, to measure,
Yes.
or to determine whether the student performed well, or
Yes.
acquired knowledge proficiently. no, or with
Yes.
excellence.
And of course, Dean Moraleda also mentions that it would depend on the intended learning outcomes,
Yeah,
and that
yeah, the
is based
ILO.
on the
Oo. So that's how
specific learning.
important, no, the clarity of focus.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Thank you din po, Dean De La Cruz, for your question. We all uh, become, yes, we are all edified by our interaction and our exchange of ideas. Thank you very much. Other questions? I think, Alex, we are almost at the end of our time, but I hope this just piques the curiosity of those who haven't heard OBE, no, and design thinking. But these are just tools, no, to help our schools and more particularly our law student practitioners to become practice ready, ethical. No, it's all for the benefit of our profession and of course our clients.
So
So
like attorney, you're asking a while ago about credits. So yun nga, based
yes,
on data, and then additional credit would be additional total units, no, credit units,
yes,
additional total units in the program, and that would be acceptable. But based on the LEB, kasi mention lang naman doon minimum, no,
2 unit.
probably you can, if it's really
Yes,
necessary, then you can add credits, no, credit units, no, just to answer to
yes,
your question a while
yes.
ago. But that's an
Eh,
additional tuition as well because each unit um, consists of tuition,
mhm,
right? No.
yes.
But if it's
In fact,
essential, then why not?
uh, some of our colleagues from the other foreign schools who are here in our summit, no, they mentioned that some schools abroad have 10 units CLE. No? So you can just imagine the emphasis on CLE in the other jurisdictions. So we've reached the end of our time. I'll turn it over to our host, Alex, and thank you very much to our participants and, of course, to Dr. Pinky Ramos for also providing her inputs.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay,
So,
thank you, Attorney Dean Charlton and Dr. Anne Marie Ramos for a very enlightening discussion. So we have reached the end of the session. This room will be closed by the host shortly. What will follow is a plenary session on the lay of the lands or the needs assessment study conducted by the ALSE, Pulse, and the Asia Foundation. To join, go to the schedule tab and click on, sorry, let me check. Go to the scheduled session at 2:45 p.m. And please, for the meantime, please take your health break. Again, thank you everyone.